one final time then in this year's IPL. After 63 days, after 73 games, we are set for the final. Gujarat Titans, will it be their season? A season to remember. First time in the IPL. Could they win the IPL in their first season? The only time that happened before was 2008, when everyone played their first IPL, and Rajasthan Royals haven't seen a final since. This is the year that they celebrate Shane Warne as their first Royal. That has already been part of the build-up to this game. Will Sanju Samson join that illustrious company as the only other man to lead Rajasthan Royals to IPL glory? Or will it be Hardik Pandya's night back in his home state, and a state and a ground that is seeing the most well-attended IPL final at the ground? 120,000, we believe, is the attendance at the newly renovated and rechristened Narendra Modi Stadium, and that is where our attention lies. The toss has gone down, so there's plenty to look forward to with Daniel Vettori and Sanjay Manjrekar on Maruti Suzuki Presents ESPN Cricket for T20 Timeout, powered by ICO 9 5G. Gentlemen, are you finals ready? You two look exactly the same as you did all tournament. Even I look the same. Is the final different, Dan?
You don't look the same.
You don't? I don't look the same?
No.
Been a lot of outside food.
I wasn't meaning that. The final is different. I think just the build-up. I think once you get into the cricket, then it all comes back to everyone and they understand their roles and what they need to do. But the build-up is normally fun. It's normally a lot of fun, a lot of excitement, a lot of attention, and it's nice to be in that situation. So I think hopefully the teams have revelled in it rather than had some trepidation around it. I think they would have. I think they've got experienced players all around them. Players have been to finals before. Good management, but hopefully most of all they've had some fun in the build-up.
Yeah, I wonder if, since you brought that point, we saw a very colourful opening ceremony now. You had Ranveer Singh perform, you had A.R. Rahman perform. I saw the players partaking in it as well. They were on the side, lip-syncing the songs. Trent Bolt tried to get a bit of Hindi words out too. I thought they'd be busy in a net somewhere or doing some kind of drill away from the ground, but that wasn't happening. They were all into it. Does that in any way add to the excitement, the butterflies of a final?
I think it does, and I think players have enough preparation time to do what they normally go through. So to get the chance to actually enjoy what the spectacle of the final as well, I think is quite important. So you see it in other sports, but players embrace the build-up and they almost get involved. So it's nice to see cricket doing the same sort of thing. Yeah,
I want someone who wouldn't have just joined in the lip-syncing. He would have gone on stage and sang with Rahman, and someone capable of that would have been Sanjay Manjrekar.
Oh, wow.
But he's here right now. Because I saw Yashasvi Jaiswal trying to get some of the words of the songs out. And I mean, the IPL final is different. Look at how big it's become, Sanjay. Now it's going to be attended by 115,000, maybe more, at the Ahmedabad Stadium. So clearly this just gets bigger and bigger each season.
Absolutely. And, 10-team IPL, back to 10-team, a lot of skepticism around it, but it's been a hit. Whatever happens in the finals, we've got to say 10 teams IPL this season has been a roaring success. We've seen some quality cricket. It's just amazing that every edition of the IPL has been exciting. I don't remember, one damp squib kind of an IPL. We've had World Cups which have been damp squibs. Don't remember a single IPL. So it's a tournament that's going from strength to strength.
Yeah. Is it also, I guess, an emotional sort of day for all of us, Sanjay, people who have seen sport played behind closed doors, a tournament which began with about 20% attendance. Now suddenly we seem to have moved on from that. We're seeing sport being celebrated and attended like we used to.
Yes, I think you bring up a good point because you almost take for granted the number of people that are at the ground, which wasn't happening a couple of years back. So congratulations to us as in mankind to have, conquered those days of crisis, everyone involved. It's amazing that we still had some cricket and that as well. The IPL that we had in UAE and India was another raging success. So well done to all those involved. And great, you're right. And this is sort of a culmination and celebration of the tough 2 years that we've had, that we are coming to the most crowded venue ever. So a brilliant, statement that.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a good tournament on that. So we've not had the interruptions, not been the sort of vibe that the 2021 edition obviously had. 120,000, that would be what, all of Auckland and Napier and Mount Maunganui combined?
Yep. Just well, maybe Auckland, but the other two, definitely.
It is a wonderful occasion. We are going to build up, but we will focus on the cricket. And the toss has gone down. It's nice that Ravi Shastri, his work has been identified on ESPN Cricket for T20 Timeout, and the BCCI have given him a toss to do. No, it's brilliant to see Ravi back in his element as well. First outside the coaching dugouts of coaching to, of course, the studio, the comforts of the studio. And we'll see him back now doing what Ravi's been known for all these years, at least all of us growing up watching Ravi Shastri, the commentator. And he had a good toss that he did. And Sanju Samson's won it. Wow, Samson would be saying, if I had to save all my coin toss luck for the 2 playoff games, maybe I'd take it because he's won 2 tosses. Curiously, he bats first today. He decided to chase against RCB at the same venue. Here he is now deciding he wants to bat first, calls it a used surface. Hardik Pandya says he would have bowled first. So let's make sense of all of that. Rajasthan are batting and Samson says the used surface. What do you make of that move, especially after what we saw 2 days back?
Yeah, I mean, I always think the toss is about the conditions rather than the atmosphere or the big stage. So Rajasthan must have read this wicket as a used wicket, as in it had dried out, because I think the talk before the first match was that there was a little bit sticky, a little bit tacky, and we saw that in the conditions. We saw the seamers be able to dominate, have some pace off the wicket, but I'm still surprised that he chose to bat first on the back of that. So there must be enough evidence that it's dried out and they want to be able to put a total on the board. But I think Gujarat, like Hardik said, will be happy that he's bowling because that's what they wanted to do, and then they can set up a chase, and they're reasonably comfortable chasing. So it's fascinating when 2 teams get to do what they want to do.
Yeah, the logic you're saying of Samson would be if it's dried, it would be easier to bat first and would get worse further in the second half. So spinners would, is that the logic?
I never think a T20 pitch deteriorates.
Right.
I just think he wants a score on the board and the ability to put pressure on, because we know that if you can get to that 170, 180 mark and get a couple of wickets early, then the game looks completely different to the other way around. So I think he's banking on Rajasthan playing very good cricket rather than this wicket doing something different.
So has he just gone for the occasion and said Rajasthan will bat first, post the runs? Joss Butler's got 3 of his 400s batting first. Sanjay, is he not really looking at the other elements, that record at Ahmedabad, Gujarat Titans being a good team, chasing all that aside? What's your reading of what both captains had to say at the toss?
Dan made a good point. The decision at the toss has to depend on the conditions. You can't be, ruled by the track record at the pitch report. Simon Dewell said teams batting first in finals have won most of the games. So I wonder that played a part. And when he calls it a dry pitch, it doesn't make sense because it's not going to change that much. In fact, if it's a dry pitch, it will get a little easier under lights in the coolness of the night, whatever coolness there is. And Hardik Pandya didn't look at it as dry enough to also want to bat first. So maybe Rajasthan went by the stats, where team batting first have mostly won in the big matches. And that could be the only reason, because they've had a good game chasing as well. So strange decision, and especially from a man who said that winning the toss will be a huge advantage in the finals.
Yeah, very, very interesting this from both teams who clearly have read conditions differently, you'd think, if they both wanted to do different things out of it. Rajasthan Royals, though, have a bit of an IPL trend to break if they'd like to win today, as the qualifiers tend to go, as the playoffs tend to go. Whoever ends up winning the first qualifier invariably ends up winning the IPL. Now, since 2018, you're seeing the track record. If the head-to-head goes in one team's favour, they invariably end up winning the final. It's happened with CSK and MI twice in the last 4 years. And can it happen for the Gujarat Titans, who hold a 2-0 record in the head-to-head so far this season? Interestingly, though, I wonder if the nature of the playoff venues comes in here. The fact that Rajasthan played qualifier 2, could play at Ahmedabad 2 nights back. The Titans have gone from the last league stage in Bombay, one qualifier in Kolkata. Here they come now to Ahmedabad. In any way, are the Rajasthan Royals more sort of hardened and ready, game hardened for this?
Well, if you look at those stats, just give Gujarat the trophy now. I mean, that is quite damning, particularly the head-to-head record. So it means that the best teams adapt to all conditions. And to think of teams like Chennai in particular who go from Chepauk to somewhere like Wankhede, and I think that's where Gujarat have been good, that they've been able to adapt no matter what situation's been put in front of them. So I think they'll be up for this game irrespective of the surface. I think Rajasthan will have enjoyed the fact that they've played on it and they've won, so they have the confidence. But we said the same thing about RCB leading into the previous game, because they'd played so well in Eden Gardens that they were potentially the favourites. But what happened was the power play knocked it out of them, and therefore it all came back to level. So I think it will be two confident teams, but this first power play will dictate a lot of how teams go.
I mean, from 18 to 21, Sanjay, I think if we have to try and throw back, I'm sure a lot of us would have said going into the final, yeah, Mumbai are favourites or Chennai are favourites. Right up until the last playoff game, we weren't sure we can call Gujarat Titans the favourites. So let me ask the question again. Going into this game, are the Titans favourites?
See, if there wasn't the last game for Rajasthan Royals, I would have put Gujarat Titans as a strong favourites. But some wonderful things happened for Rajasthan, especially with their bowling, which was the seam bowling, especially in the death, was going to be their weakling, the kind of night Prasidh Krishna had in that first qualifier. It came back strongly. So this is a team now on form, having no loopholes. But you've got to maybe go with Gujarat Titans a little because they have some flexibility with their bowling. They've got 6 or 7 bowling options. If Rajasthan have another good bowling night, then you might see a repeat of what happened in the last game. But that's where their Achilles heel is. 5 bowling options and not too many outside that. And people like Trent Bolt, Prasidh Krishna need to have another, good night for them to win. It's very close. These are all peripherals. The important thing is Josh Butler takes off, wins the game. Miller hits 3 sixes in a row. The game's over. So these are all marginal sort of influencing factors.
Yes, Dan.
Why can't we give Gujarat their dues? I'm just as bad as anyone. I haven't backed them, I suppose, to get this far. I think they're a good team, but I never expected them to win this many games. I never expected them just to bulldoze their way into the final, and it seems strange that way we can't just offer them glowing praise. It's always with a little bit of a caveat, but I do think they've got enough marquee players, and particularly Rashid Khan and Hardik Pandya. If those two players step up on the night, then I think they can be considered favourites. And I think it'll be fascinating how they use Lockie Ferguson tonight, bringing him back into the team after some tough starts and some interesting usage. How he's used tonight, I think, could define their bowling lineup.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, right? We've all had this opinion of the Titans. So even after they win tonight, we might go I'm not quite sure about the Gujarat Titans, but they won an IPL. We've said that about teams in the past too. But I will come to those team changes. Before that, just a quick reference to the first qualifier that Samson's decided to bat first. So Sanjay brings up a good point that they must have looked at this game as coming down to 16 of 6 and they should have won, but it doesn't worry them that the Titans have this great chasing record, that they scored 188 at the Eden Gardens and still lost. Do they believe that that's still a game they should have won, or could they have said, maybe we should do something different? Does the first game matter here, the qualifier?
What actually worries Sanjay Sampson? I would love to know. We're yet to see anything that
Once
worries him.
he's faced 26 balls.
So there's 27th ball.
27 to 30 is worrisome for him.
Yeah, okay. Apart from that, he just seems very carefree, which is such a nice attribute as a captain. I think Hardik Pandya is very similar. I think they have a poise about them. I think Vikram Solanki said in an interview on the website around they have that Hardik Pandya has the poise of a leader, and I think Sanjay Sampson is almost the same. That whatever happens, we'll move on and we'll deal with it. And I think that's such a glowing characteristic of great captains.
Sanjay, just reference to the previous playoff games before we move to the teams. The fact that RCB got 157, I think we were all of the opinion that was short. Now, the Eden Gardens 188 wasn't enough, but are you basing your calculations batting first saying, I'll be able to defend a score here more likely? You don't have to worry about what happened at the Eden Gardens?
No, what we saw in the last game, clearly the pitch played better in the second half, or maybe it was an illusion, but I really felt that the pitch played better. And that's why, Hardik Pandya's keenness to bowl first and chase, because that's a team that has gone against the run of play and batted first on many occasions. So I'm going to trust more Hardik Pandya's reading of the surface. I think Samson has gone, but it's a team, it's an interesting team. Rajasthan look a lot at stats. They've got one in the support staff who just, gives them a lot of numbers and stuff like that. So, a bit like the Moneyball kind of approach team. So they may have looked at the stats and may have seen some merit in batting first, because a lot of finals have been won by team batting first.
Yep. All right, it could be that. We'll find out whose decision looks smarter at the end of 3, maybe 4 hours. The game that starts at 8 o'clock in India, delayed because of the opening ceremony. So we have built up for another 10, 11 minutes.
Is that the reason?
Yeah, I believe so. I think so. I believe so, Sanjay. Yeah. Unless you know something I don't. You have connections to the big boys in the BCCI. So
I thought it was just it's a better time for people to sort of, get ready
What
for an 8 p.m.
I
start.
would think they do it earlier. Sometimes they've done the final about half an hour early since it's a Sunday and they'd like to
Yes,
start a
yes,
bit earlier. But yeah, this is different.
true.
They are starting at 7:30. Maybe they just liked it after the Eden Gardens gave them a little delay. And they said, "Oh, more people are watching now. Let's do it later." Anyway, let's get serious. The team changes. Rajasthan are unchanged, which we expected. Same team that downed the Royal Challengers Bangalore, the same venue a couple of nights back. How good was Obed McCoy that night? So no reason to change. That's been the one position they've been looking to seal all season. Dan, will it be McCoy? Will it be Sen? Could they bring in Nisham? They've tried all the other internationals in Mitchell and Van der Dusen. McCoy peaking at just the right time just makes this team look better.
It does, and he's bowled so well. And I think this is the argument for backing players and continuing on with them, particularly the overseas players who have a proven track record, or the international Indian players, because if you give them enough chances, they can produce performances like Obed McCoy has. And he struggled at the start, to be fair. Particularly the amount of wides he bowled, and then that over to Rovman Powell. But since then, a little bit of a rest, a little bit of a build-up, and he's been impeccable in his last 4 or 5 games. And I think that's testament to Rajasthan understanding his skill set and then the utilisation of him. And I think they've used him pretty well, kept him out of that power play through the middle stages, and then obviously his key role at the death. And batters just do not get a read on him at all. And he's using a 140 to 145 stock ball and then mixing up with the back of the hand and then a sort of an off spinner. So no one's getting a read on him at all.
Yeah. So even his bad balls are hard to hit.
It seems like that.
Yeah.
You think of I think it was Longmore in the last game where it was short and wide, and he's just hit it straight up in the air to short third man. You think when you get a ball like that you can capitalise on it. And I think what he does is the batsmen have got no read on him, so therefore you can't premeditate. And a lot of batsmen like to premeditate at the death.
Yeah, I mean, McCoy, I wonder if, I was going to say, could it be a conditions thing? Could it be hard to face on this Ahmedabad surface, Sanjay? But even at the Eden Gardens, he kept the game alive, bowling a penultimate over Prasidh Krishna. So McCoy, clearly something seems to be working for him.
And I think now he's become a reliable bowler. It's hard to imagine him having an off night. He's been consistent in the latter half of the IPL when he's got the opportunities. Even when we saw the first half of the IPL, we showed his economy rate. But in, I think, 6.4 overs, he had got 3 wickets. That's where he's really good. He's a wicket taker. I always say this, he's got this Forrest Gump's box of chocolates that Dad mentioned, hard to read what's coming out from his hand. So now that he's got confidence, he's got control over his bowling, all the other elements are coming to just show us how valuable he is, because he's a wicket taker. So if Chahal and Ashwin don't get wickets, then this is the guy who'll give you wickets. So I beg your pardon. I just got off.
No, you're right.
There.
You got that.
You
got that.
So
Chahal,
this
Ashwin,
is what you. Yeah. So this is what you have with Obed McCoy, is that he'll sort of give you wickets even in the middle overs, a bit like Umran Malik. So I find him amongst the 3 seamers to be the most sort of the man who'll provide the X factor in the seam bowling for Rajasthan.
Yeah, fair enough. They already seem to have Prasidh Krishna firing on all cylinders after that last game. Now McCoy, you got Bolt, you know what you're going to expect out of both. Seems like a well-rounded bowling attack with not a lot of weakness. The Titans have been successful at the back of a successful bowling attack. Lockie Ferguson was a big part of that in the early parts of the season. Suddenly found his way out of the team. First we thought it was a niggle, then clearly they wanted the combination of Wade and Alzari Joseph, one that they went into the first qualifier with. Joseph bowled just the 2 overs in that game. Out he goes now for a return to Lockie Ferguson. I think fair to say, in spite of the odd usage of Ferguson towards the end of the league phase, this is still their best team, Dan?
I think so. I respect the fact that they picked Joseph on the back of some decent bowling, and the fact that Ferguson hadn't bowled well, and they backed him for a couple of games and unfortunately didn't come off. So to go back to the proven fast bowler in Ferguson, I think is the right move for a big final. I just hope he bowls in the power play.
Yep.
I think he's got Butler out in the past. He can come in and be aggressive to him, and then you have Shami, Yasdale and Ferguson. That's a strong first 6 overs. That's a lot of pace. That's a lot of aggressiveness, and I think that's what you'll need to try and counter Butler, rather than leaving him later on and potentially putting him up against a Butler who's on fire, or another batsman who's on fire. So Ferguson, the power play, I think is a must.
And what happened in that last game with the way Prasidh Krishna bowled, does that tempt you in saying, yeah, we should have Lockie in this game? Because Alzari Joseph can bowl quick, he can get the ball to rise as well. What's been the deciding factor though?
I just think probably experience. I think the fact that Ferguson's been in a number of big games for New Zealand, and he's played a lot more and the fact they paid 10 crore for him. I think I think that's the deciding factor.
Why not? Why not? Much easier. That last point came
But it's a
but
difficult
Sanjay.
call, because they're going for two guys. I mean, Alzari conceded 27 in his two, so his position was vulnerable. And Lockie, when he got dropped after getting a couple of opportunities, he had one bad spell before he got dropped. So he'll be feeling the nerves. But the advantage really for Gujarat is that Lockie has a difficult night. There's always Hardik Pandya to bowl a few overs. They haven't bowled Tewati as much, but they've got bowling options. I know you want to bowl Lockie with the new ball, but they've got Yash Dayal that they want to use for a couple of overs. Maybe Shami and Yash Dayal, a couple of overs each, and then get Lockie in the first 6 overs.
All right. Yes, Lockie bowled an absolute beauty to Josh Butler when these two teams met earlier in the season. So we shall find out whether that matchup is interesting or is something that invites Lockie in the power play. Will he have the sort of impact that Prasidh Krishna did? But you'd think Mohammad Shami certainly should enjoy himself in the power play. Shami, at the back of what we've been saying quite often on this show, is his best IPL, most consistent IPL. Just a couple of off games towards the end of the league phase and included in that first qualifier. But that's how he's gone. An economy of 6 in the power play, 6.5. Does all right in the middle, but the depth has been exceptional, including, in spite of that economy rate going a bit high, he's got wickets at the death. And Shami to have that sort of impact that Prasidh did, is it possible today?
Absolutely, I think Shami's obviously a better bowler. I think the power play takes care of itself. I actually think he's been okay at the death. He's ran into Livingston one game and a couple others where he's actually put together some pretty strong performances. So I think Shami becomes the key for the Gujarat bowling attack, as he has been all season, and he's responded to that. And Krishna was all about test match lengths, and that's where we always say Shami is at his best, when he just hits a length and attacks the stumps. And to Butler, I think that's going to be the key matchup. And I also think the field placements that he sets for Butler is going to be a big part of that as well, because when you bowl that test match length, Butler tends to walk across and try to whip to the leg side. So I think he needs his fine leg just to back him up if he's going to continue to bowl in that manner. But I think that's going to be sort of the marquee, or the defining of the game, that matchup.
Yeah, I mean, that's the matchup that we know is going to happen first up, Sanjay. Dan talks about a fine leg coming into play. Now with Virat Kohli, we know bowlers target him with that exact sort of length. He's been out like that before. What's the plan for Butler? Would you go with what Dan said? Shami to do more of what Prasidh did the other night?
Yeah, attack the stumps. Just keep it straight and full, and don't try to sort of escape punishment from Butler. Attack the stumps, keep it full. And when you look at the time that he's got out, when he hasn't got too many runs, you'll find invariably it's a ball that's been straight and full. So that's the way to go about. Somebody like a Yash Dayal, not too many overs against Butler. So I think Lockie is another guy that you want to unleash against Butler, against somebody who's straight and quick. So that's the way to go. And I don't think they'll feel the need to bowl Rashid Khan in the first 6. They'll keep him for later, because they had a few problems in the last game controlling runs towards the end. Yash Dayal bowled the 20th, went for a lot. So they'll try and cover that area, but attack more, I guess, with Lockie and Shami to begin with.
Butler has had a good record against the Gujarat Titans this season, half centuries in both games so far. We know the qualifier was a different kind of half century. 89 of 56 went at a runner ball for a large part of the first 40-odd balls that he played, but caught up, you think, in a way. And in that league stage, they were chasing 220. They were chasing over 200, I think, and Butler went mad. 54 of 24, thought he's going to win the game on his own. He did go mad even the other night against RCB. So we'll see which Butler shows up. If he manages to just go insane for long enough, he will overtake David Warner. And that's the record that he is eyeing. Butler stands at 824, so he's 24 short of Warner in that epic year in 2016 where Kohli and Warner were just literally matching each other shot for shot and innings for innings. Eventually, it was Warner's Sunrisers that beat Virat Kohli and Dan Vettori's RCB in 2016. But
look at the strike rates of those guys, which is incredible.
Sanjay.
To have that aggregate, over 800 runs, 900 runs for Virat Kohli at a strike rate of 150. That's when the orange cap looks really nice on someone's head. So the strike rate also keeping pace. Brilliant.
I want Dan to repeat the point he just made. Carry on.
I said Chinnaswamy. Yeah. So that's the other, we never mentioned that with RCB last year. They've got to go back to Chinnaswamy as well. So that'll be joy to batsmen and not so much fun.
Just because he spent all his games in Mumbai, Butler would have done it anyway. Right, will he get 24? Will he get a little more than what David Warner managed in that successful season in 2018? What would a title mean for the likes of a Butler's question? But what about a Rashid Khan? right? The greatest, one of the great T20 bowlers the game has seen. He has such a huge imprint on the format. He's never won an IPL. He was picked by the Sunrisers after 2016 when Sunrisers did win. And that's his record. He's always been a big part of the tournament. 2018, his team did make the final under Kane Williamson. They fell short on that occasion. He's moved to different franchise. That's something that you think someone like Rashid Khan would. It's the crowning jewel that's missing. Greatest T20 bowler of his era. Never won an IPL title. I don't think he's won a lot of T20 titles either.
He is the greatest T20 bowler. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And he continues to perform and he continues to be consistent in the way he goes about things. And we've seen him, I mean, we say a slight dip mid-season and he rectified that, and his back end of the season has been exceptional. I think it is important for players, but I think players want to contribute. They want to be part of wins, but they also want to play exceptionally well. And we can't hold titles against a great player. I think it's unfair. It's just him. He does his job, and it's up for the other 10 to complement everything he does, because he's absolutely exceptional.
I'm sure Sanjay likes this subject area. Great players doing their bit, and then titles as a result of that great players' contribution in the team. Sanjay, Rashid Khan, obviously great, but it would be incomplete. Sunil Narayan has won IPLs with KKR. David Warner has won an IPL. We still think, remember the Chris Gales and the AB de Villiers did not win an IPL. I don't know if that's how we read a T20 player's legacy or any player's legacy.
It just proves that one player cannot win you a title, because nobody gets better than Rashid Khan. He's got wickets, he's got the economy rate, he's now making batting contributions as well. Also playing for Sunrisers Hyderabad for so many years that didn't also make it to the last two positions very often. So it wasn't a stage where he could win a game on his own and win the title. So perhaps was playing for the wrong franchise. Now he's got a chance, and he's that kind of a guy who could be a player of the match in the final, because we've never seen him get affected by nerves. So, yes, maybe just the wrong team. And had he played for Mumbai Indians or even KKR, who have the legacy of winning titles and reaching final rounds, he would have made a title-winning contribution, I'm sure.
All right. Well, it's somebody's going to be happy at the end of tonight. Samson would have an IPL title. Or you could look around and find Josh Butler could be an IPL champion, something that he hasn't been before either. Could stand corrected. I don't think he was part of the Mumbai team in 13. But anyway, that's where we will leave this. We will need a prediction, though, from both Sanjay Manjrekar and Daniel Vettori. Final. How many are they going to get? Is Butler going to go big today?
I think it's going to be tough. It looks like it's swinging already. I think 170 is going to be a really good total.
Sanjay, 170? Need more?
Can I just to put some fun into this?
Yes.
Because they've had a couple of great nights almost, Rajasthan Royals with the bat. Let me say 155.
Wow. Okay, that was you putting some fun into this by saying it'll be a 155.
Yeah, just
right?
Throwing the spanner in the wheel a little bit.
Fair enough. What I want to ask both of you is whether this is the night to do something funky, whether the final is the occasion for it. Ashwin at 3. Something else up and down. It's all fun in the.
That's not funky. That's stupid.
Yes.
Sanjay, again, Dan made a very good point right at the start. Dependent on the conditions, not because it's the final. If something makes sense, a cricketing move, depending on that particular moment. Mahendra Singh Dhoni used to do it, but he didn't do it because it was the final. We've got to do something different. They are completely dictated by the reality of that particular moment.
Fair enough. Come on, give us something. RR, give us a manker or a batter run out of the non-strikers end. Sorry, give us a retired out, or give us someone else pop in. That's what the Rajasthan Royals are known for. Anyway, we'll find out if that is indeed a talking point, or whether it's how Butler's gone, Samson's gone, or how the Titans have bowled. Join us at halftime on Maruti Suzuki presents ESPN Cricket for T20 Timeout, powered by IQ 9 5G. As I leave you, the winner of our most recent IQ ESPN Cricket for Biggest Fan Challenge, where Gaurav Sonkusale had the pleasure of interacting with Dan Vettori. Have a look at that interaction. We'll see you at the end of the Rajasthan innings.
One thing I wanted to ask about was the Rajasthan Royals. We have seen that they have a pretty settled top order, top 4 if I must say. But we have seen them experiment with R. Ashwin at number 3. Do you think they could have probably tried Riyan Parag at number 3 then?
Yeah, that would been interesting. I don't think we've seen him up the order too much. I think Ashwin has had a magnificent season as an all-round cricketer, but I think we see the best of him at that 6 or 7 position where he can take on spin and take on the back end of the game, facing fast bowling of particularly that pace could be something that Rian Perra could be pretty good at. So look, Rajasthan are fortunate that they've had Butler and Sampson and Devdutt Padikal, I think, had a good season, and Jaswal at the back end of the year. I think he's been the one that's made a huge difference, his ability to be aggressive and take it on. But it could have been an option for him. But I think they like the idea of Rian being a sort of closer at the back end for them.
Right. And lastly, I'd like to ask that you have recently taken up a new position as an assistant coach with the Australian men's team. How excited are you about it? What are you looking forward to?
Looking forward to it. I'm lucky that I've worked with Andrew McDonald in the past with RCB, and we played together at Delhi and RCB as well. So we know each other pretty well and have a similar wavelength when it comes to coaching. And the best thing is, I mean, the amount of amazing players that Australia have. They've been a proven team for a long period of time. So hopefully being able to contribute, particularly to that group of spinners with Nathan Lyon, Adam Zampa, Ashton Agar and Mitchell Swepson, who have all had a chance in the last little while. So that's really exciting for me.